Okay, so we got our temporary engine stand built, and there's that right there, just so you guys can take a look to see what's going to temporarily hold it on, just so we can get the SkyTrax installed. And first things first, I'm going to pull it off of the primary part of the stand and just swing the motor mount through right here and see if we can get it on there and do it like Steve told us to. He said what we have to do is get the first parts on here and then kind of swing it underneath to the other side to where it will swing under and connect to this side right here. So let's get to it. And we're back. Okay, so got the engine stand, motor mount ready to go on. I had to disconnect these parts that would normally support the intake manifold so I could clip it onto the engine hoist. So I'm going to hold this out of the way. Hopefully it'll hold itself, sort of, while I get this first part of the motor mount in. There we go. Just like I thought, this guy's all up in my way. This is like Tetris. Oh, finger! Oh, so close, so close. Okay, I'm getting the mallet. I'll make it fit. You just need a little convincing of that. So close. Almost forgot a key part. Don't forget the lube. Oh yeah. Oh, it's in. Spin it around to the other side. Here we go. Shoot. Okay. Okay, we got both of the coolant lines off. Right here. There we go. Beautiful. Steve Henry, you make one very nice motor mount, my friend. Like a glove. Look at that fitment. Oh yeah, that's gonna work beautifully. Okay, that is on. Let's get these straps off. All done. Hey guys, just got done with some work for the day, night now. Fixing to go next door and start working on the plane. Let's go. Let's go next door. And it is cold. And get started on the plane. Whew, it's cold. We made it. Probably shouldn't have done that. Frozen my butt off. Anyway, here we are. Lens looks fogged up. Oh, what the shit. I forgot they were dropping off the insulation. Well, that messes with our setup, so gonna have to move some stuff around. tonight, we're putting this on this. Let's go everything that we're going to need. We've got our exploded parts diagram. We've got our mounting hardware. We've got our tools. We've got our sealers and Loctites. We've got our computer. Most importantly, we've got snacks. Okay, it's been a long week, but welcome back. So a couple nights ago, we got the engine stand put together so that we could get to this part, which is going to be a lot more fun. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a visual learner. So for me, it was awesome that Project Kitfox has already done this. So I'm going to use their instructions combined with Teal's instructions to go over the install process, and we'll kind of break it down step by step as I see it, and then let's get after it. Okay, so the instructions say the first step is to remove the 6 bolts and sealing washers on the bearing retainer of the output shaft and discard them. They will not be used again. 10mm handy electric ratchet. Okay, we've got those removed. Let's see what the next step is. The next step, it says, is to remove all these parameter fasteners from the output drive shaft cover. And these we're going to retain. Okay, we've got all those out just in time for our battery to die. And so the next step is to remove the drive cover and clean the engine block mating surface for any residual gasket material. Ensure the 2 dowel pins are installed on the engine side. If not, remove from the cover and install them back onto the engine. So we're going to pull those off. Keep an eye out for those. Set this guy down. Sure is nice working on a brand new motor. Makes this thing easy. Okay, there's our dowel pins. We're going to take those out, put those back in the engine where they go. One goes here, and the other goes right there. Okay, just got that off. I'm gonna clean my hands, clean the engine what little bit it needs. Got our gasket, I think. Set this aside, and be right back. Okay, so we are going to now pull this seal right here, and then put the new one in facing the opposite direction. We've got our handy little gasket remover. We're going to try to gently use to pry that out. Okay, well, we got that out. So it is on to the next part, which it says install the new one. All right. So I'm gonna go look next door and see if that little PVC cone that I have is the right size. I'll be back. Success! I did have one. Happens to be the exact right size. Okay. Make sure it's going to go on first. Get the rubber mallet. That's beautiful. can't talk. Okay, next it says to remove these 2 bolts that are connecting the head to the block. So we're gonna get those out. I don't know if we need to save those or not, so I'm going to set them aside. Give me 1 second, I'll look at the instructions and tell you. It says to remove, so I'm gonna set them aside and assume we're gonna save them. And then now it says to separate the 2 halves of the SkyTrax gearbox by removing the perimeter fasteners. Okay, we got those separated. Now it is time to pull this apart, see if it comes apart on its own. Nope, it's not wanting to. Applying heat to the SkyTrax logo will make it easier for the idle shaft to slide off the front cover. Okay, set that aside, see if it's warm enough to get apart. Tell you what, that thing is machined so nice because it's so smooth coming apart. Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, you just have to appreciate the fit and finish of that thing. Look at that, it's beautiful. Oh, I love it. Okay, let's get our temperature sending unit. And it says if you're going to use Teflon tape, use it sparingly or not at all. But it's the only thread sealer I have, so we're going to use it very lightly. And the reason you don't want to use a lot of it is because it could prevent the sending unit from grounding against the metal, which we don't want to do. So we're just going to get 1 good wrap in. That's it, just 1 good wrap. So we know we can still see metal that we know will bite through, and we'll get a good seal. Okay, so we got our temperature sending unit in. Get that snugged down. Snug. It says the next step is to install our new gasket on the engine. So we're going to open that up and put that on. Slide that into place ever so gently. Okay, that's in place. Okay, it says to orientate the bearing retainer bolt holes right here to how they are on the back of here. So we're going to line that up as good as we can, basically. And that looks about, let's see, about like that. Ease it on for a test fitment and see. You want to be really careful while you're doing this as not to pinch or damage that gasket, because if you do, you'll be having to put another one on there. So close. So what I think I'm going to do is use a pick to line it up the rest of the way. Okay, that is in place. On to the next step. Okay, now that that's in place, it says to get the 6 M6 screws, which is these guys right here. And what we're going to do with these is first we're going to wipe them down with a little bit of acetone to clean them from any oil from what we've been messing with or anything like that. And then it says to apply a medium strength Loctite equivalent to 242. We've got Permatex, which is the closest equivalent that we have. So that's what we are going to use. This right here is why it is important to clean those bolt holes, because, or clean those bolts, because that's the oil that we got off of them. As you can see there, it's not something you definitely want on the threads when you are applying. Okay, and all you need is a small dab on each one, about like that, and it will work its way around those threads as you are screwing them in. And then it says to torque them down to 9 foot-pounds or 108 inch-pounds. M6 here. Good catch. And it doesn't say to, but common sense dictates to screw those in just like you're torquing the lugs in a car, which would be in a star pattern. And that's the same method in which I'll torque these down. So get them all started by hand first, just to get them installed. Uh-oh, was that the one that was supposed to stay on the thing? Okay, we got the gear off, got these other two on. One thing you'll notice is you got these these 3 holes right here that you'll need to mount bolts with, and this one as well before you put the cover back on. So we'll get to that part in just a second. Give me 1 sec. Do y'all remember how I said I didn't want to get like partway through a project and then get stuck, have to take off, go get parts or whatever, and then come back? Yeah, well, that happened. So looks like I forgot to get this Permatex bearing mount compound, which is basically a Loctite for non-threaded surfaces. And that is to put, so we got this stuff here, and that is to put this gear under this tapered output shaft right there and secure everything before we torque it into place. So we're going to clean it up real quick with some acetone. Okay, got a paper towel. Good old brake parts cleaner, works great as a good substitute for just straight up acetone. So we'll get that on there. I'm gonna go through and I'll wipe down the shaft right here. Get all this stuff clean since we're gonna be working in this area. Okay, so we got our Loctite stuff. I need a knife. I gotta cut the tip, you know, whatever. I'll be right back. Don't look at my butt. Okay, I'm back. Forgot to get, you know, a little thing to cut this. So anyway, snip the tip, as they say. Set that aside. And then it says to apply a little bit in here. So we're gonna put a little bit in there, run that around. And then we're going to put some output shaft here, just like it says. A little bit more. Doesn't say how much, it just says put some on there. Never used this stuff before, so I'm just going to wing it. Keep it off the back right there though. Just going to get it here on the front, secure everything in place. And then pretty sure we don't need it in the back, so I'm going to wipe that back edge just a little bit, just to make sure that we don't end up pushing any back to an area we don't want it to be. Alright, so that's on. So we will put that in place. Push that on there nice and snug. You can already, I mean, it just seals to that taper so nicely. The machine work on this stuff from Teal Jenkins is just beautiful. It says to get some 242 or equivalent, which is medium compound Loctite. So, just right over here, put a little drop of your Loctite.
looks like. And then this bolt, a 19mm socket head, and it will get torqued down to 24 foot-pounds. Oh, we got some medium thread locker on there. And it's trying to fight us, so I'm going to see if I can hold that while oh, perfect. All right. Double check that. Good to go. Okay, that's torqued down. Let's move on to the next part, which says install the supplied head bracket and supply bolts. Torque the 6mm head bolts to 9 foot-pounds. Torque the 8mm fastener on the gearbox to 15 foot-pounds. Alright then, let's do it. Alright, so next is this triangular bracket here and these 3 bolts. These 2 are the ones that came off of the head itself, and this one is the one that is supplied with the kit that will go to secure this bracket from the SkyTrax to the motor itself. We'll switch camera angles real quick so you guys can see while we do that part. Okay, got all perimeter bolts in and secure, so now I'm going to install this gear again, and really just slip over that. Oops. Okay, so that'll secure that back in place, and we just need to press this back in. All I'm going to do to get that in is use the same nifty little tool that I had earlier. Rubber mallet should fit that just right. Yep, look at that. Alright, that secures all that beautifully. Okay, that's all back in place. Next, it says to install this gasket that goes around this surface. So what I want to do there first is I'm going to wipe this out really good to make sure there's nothing in there so that the gasket sticks well. So I'm going to soak me another paper towel and some acetone, and maybe even get a Q-tip or two to wipe through there and get that cleaned up. Be right back. Okay, so the next step is to install our O-ring that goes around the perimeter here, and then it says you can use some RVT to hold it in place. So we're going to first try it without, just because I don't want anything in there that we don't need if we don't need it. So I'm going to run this guy around there, and if it stays in place, awesome. If it doesn't, then we'll dab a little bit of RVT in a couple spots to hold it in place. But it's looking like it's going to hold all right. It may give me some trouble, but we can get it all there on its own without the RVT. It's trying to booger with me right now, but okay. Yeah, RVT it is. I'm trying to do here is just put it on areas where there's curves. It's going to be spots where it's most likely to try to slip out of. I'm going to do that, and I'll put a little bit where it's going to butt up. Okay, let's try it again. Let's see if it sticks this time. So again, we want it to terminate on this little straight piece right here. That's just out of preference. So that's holding this time. One thing it says is you want these to butt, so what we're going to do is clip that so that those butt up together. And you want to err on the side of over tolerance instead of under tolerance, because if you cut it too short, you leave a gap. If you cut it too big, you can always trim off just a little bit more. We will, again, we're going to push, get a little bit of push for over tolerance. Look at it. Cut a little too big on purpose, and then see if you can butt it together. Just like that. And then what I'll do there is I'm going to take this RBT just to kind of help create a good seal right there where it butts. I want to be a little bit more generous with some right there in that spot. Yeah, that's actually wanting to stick good now that I don't want it to. But the last thing you want is for that stuff to get in the gearbox. Okay, let's push everything back in place. I know it looks nasty right now, but if you'll watch in just a second, I'm going to clean it up. Q-tip. I'm going to put the acetone. I'm just going to see if I can wipe it nice and clean. Hey, look at that. Beautiful. Always pays to take a little extra time to do it really well. All that's left now is to torque these down to 9 pounds. So I'm going to use my ratchet to get them all on quickly. Okay, now we just got to picture all these. Okay, now that those are all secure, grab our torque wrench and finish them all. What we'll do until we get the first good bit in is we're going to go good old star style. Okay, now they're all tight. So we'll just walk the perimeter all the way around, make sure we didn't miss any. And also, now that everything is tight and pulled that gasket, there'll probably be a couple like this one that have got just a little bit more to go until they're at that full 9 pounds. And that's just due to everything settling as you go. Just like this one, this is that first one we did. As you can see, now that everything else is tighter, it had a good bit more to go. So that's why it's important to do a final check on every one after. Okay, she is done. As always, anytime you're done with a torque wrench, always take it back down to 0, but not beyond 0. Everything feels good. Good and snug. All right, we're gonna call it a night.